Welcome to Hanging with Gary. And we're back. Johnny D,
live in color.
No little D today. The OG, the older Gary, and our guest this week, compadre Jaime Zamago, aka Jay-Z. Welcome to the show, compadre.
Thank you, compadrito. Thank you so much.
First time with us.
Saludos a todos.
Jay-Z, compadre. This is Hanging with Gary podcast. You're probably listening to us on Spotify and Amazon Music or YouTube, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, or GaryHobbs.com. Hanging with Gary, Season 3, Johnny, episode 15. Man, we should be making money by now. Where's the money? That reminds me of something, and I'll say it later, pero. Hanging with Gary, Season 3, Episode 15. It's been a while. We've been back. We've been busy, but we always start. How was your week, Johnny?
Pretty good week. Had spring break with my daughters, so I took my week off with.
Oh, it was not work. The usual making money. It was spending money.
I did have to make some money on Thursday and Friday, but
good.
Yeah, I had to.
Well, we were last Thursday. We were in Victoria, Texas. We were celebrating Hilda Ansaldua's birthday. Happy birthday, Hilda! Hilda's hired us a couple of times for her birthday, and we so much appreciate that and the hospitality. Not just getting paid, but and the food and all of the good stuff. Pero happy birthday, Hilda Ansaldua. And then Saturday, we were at the Spring Break Music Fest block party, San Antonio, Texas, with Lopez Entertainment. That went over well. It was a little bit cold. We were like at 45 degrees afuera. But we did an hour and a half set, had a lot of fun. Had a good crowd, considering que estaba frío, and got to see Roberto Pulido, Los Clásicos. He's an icon, and got to see him. We got to see Mario Montes, Mr. Mario Montes, the legend, singer de Romance. Dime que soy un tonto. I love it. It was nice to see Mario Montes, and big shout out to him. So we were at the second annual Spring Break Music Fest block party in San Antonio, Texas. It was at Guadalupe Plaza, right? Something like that.
Yes, sir.
And we had a good time, but it was a little bit cold. But man, first time we have mi compadre Jaime Zamago. So much history with us, with Gary Hobbs, with Mezquite, no, but Gary Hobbs and the usual suspects and stuff, and we're gonna get into all of that in a minute. But
Los Aguila Boys.
Yeah, Los Aguila Boys and other bands we're gonna mention the name. But it's good to have y'all listening to Hanging with Gary, the OG, Johnny D, and Jay-Z. They're in the house. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Hanging with Gary. Here's Mr. Gary Hobbs.
I wish you could see it. El ánimo que traigo. Puro ánimo.
Air drums.
Ánimo. Que ánimo. Welcome back to Hanging with Gary. Johnny D in the house. Jay-Z in the house. Compadre Jaime Zamago.
Yes, sir.
The OG. On our Gary Hobbs throwback segment, ladies and gentlemen, we have our guest, mi compadre Jaime Zamago.
Yes, sir. Thank you, compadre. Thank you.
There's very few of those musicians that have stuck around and been here and then gone on to bigger things and still come back and help me and in so many capacities. First of all, compadre, thank you for being with us on
Thank you,
Hanging
compadre.
with Gary.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. Y aquí me tienes por mucho rato, primeramente Dios.
Por favor de Dios.
Y era hora que vinieras, Jaime.
Yeah, it was my turn. I was waiting for my turn, compadre.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting, but primero, congratulations, compadre, because you were a big part of our new CD, Sin Fin, on Freddie Records.
Yeah.
Doing all the bass parts, of course, and the vocals, and then you were also the vocal producer. And I want to thank you for. I thought we did such a good job on the last CD, and I just heard somebody very big release a new song, and I heard him mispronounce some words, and it remembered me of you, helping me on the producing the vocal part. So congratulations on all of that, compadre. And
they should have hired me to be there to coach them.
Was he
to produce them?
Feria talks.
Yes, sir.
Hey, compadre. But before I start, I want to ask you some questions. But we're on the fly here, and that's why our shows are sometimes they're okay, and sometimes they suck. Our shows, but I did want to say hello to George Lopez before I start questioning. And we support a lot of new artists, and then I saw George kind of call Ralph Barbosa, who's from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, correct? And
That's correct, yeah.
And he's up and coming. And he called him Ralph Barbosa and a lot of things, and it just like it reminded me because I saw all weekend all the new bands at the fanfare and at the Spring Fest and so many other events around San Antonio. They say that I remember last year. Last year we heard that right before COVID there was like 100,000 people coming into these fanfares and stuff. Right now, the Tejano Music Awards, the TTMA, they're really the granddaddy of it all. Right, they're the ones that really started this fanfare. Right, and then throughout the years, other events have popped up and stuff. And to me, it's all good. If it's for Tejano music and not the other kind of music, but or the other kind of music, as long as they continue to use Tejano music in it, I'm good with that. And then se viene spring break, se viene South by Southwest stuff.
Yes.
So it's like a lot of people in Central Texas, and the cold didn't help. But I saw so many new artists. I wanted to send a shout out to all these young bands that they're out there, and I think they have such potential and so much talent. I wish they would stop singing Tragos Amargos and a lot of the cover songs. Y'all need to get some original material because you have a lot of talent. That's the only reason why I'm saying it. But congrats to all the bands, and I hope that they got back home safe and sound. I mean, from a lot of states. I heard people from Colorado and bands from Michigan, Florida. I don't know where else they came from. New Mexico. But a big shout out to them, and I just remember that because George Lopez hater, man. I'm still pissed off at him because at one of the Tejano Music Awards, he said, from Eagle Pass, Texas, El Borracho. He wanted to say El Borrado, and quería quedar bien, But you know what? I remember him. I'm going to remind him about Ralph Barbosa. But hey, going back to my compadre Jaime Zamago, it's great to have you here on Hanging with Gary. Compadre, before I start asking, how many years on and off since we met and you started playing here?
I think it's been over 25 years, compadre.
Wow.
Más o menos, yeah, like 25 years over.
Man, when you get to heaven, compadre, God's gonna give my wife the biggest trophy, and then the second biggest a ti. Por aguantarme. 25 years. And I was, I asked you right before we went on, started recording the podcast just a few minutes ago, porque it just dawned on me those questions that it's funny because when we're on stage, and I like to say a lot of things like 19 throw it away and this song from 19, and I got to turn around and look at you because you have a photographic memory when it comes to those things. ¿Te acuerdas cuando la grabamos y cómo y qué, how hot it was outside and, qué temperatura, but you have such a great memory at those things. And then I started to think to myself, how was it that I got to meet you and how you ended up here? And I couldn't remember, but I thought maybe our audience could, you can let them in on the how we met or
Well, the first thing, compadre, I've always been a fan of your music.
Thank you.
Since the early 80s, since you recorded Se Acabó, Háblame. I used to listen to all those songs when I was
want everybody to know that mi compadre is not being paid to say that. But thank you, compadre.
No, I've always been one of my favorite songs was Confidencias de Amor back in 84.
Oh, wow.
Those were one of my favorite songs. Was Háblame, Se Acabó, No Te Digo. I think
First
that
ones?
was your first album, I think.
First and second, yeah.
Yeah, and I've always been a fan of your music.
But you were like 8 years old?
No, I was actually like 5 or 6.
It's even worse, right?
yeah, and was, I've loved your music ever since. Y por eso that's why I kind of know when did you record it, what year, what songs, and stuff like that. So, pero yeah.
Just to interject, mi compadre viene de una familia puro músicos y cantantes, and they all play different instruments. La familia Zamago, and they're from Siesta Acres, right, compadre?
Yes, sir.
Siesta Acres, and they for
sir,
years they were a band growing up and with their father and mother. So just a big shout out to La Familia Zamago, compadre.
Gracias, compadre. Gracias
And
a
then,
toda mi familia.
So how did you get here with the band?
With the band, pues I came in 97. In 97, I joined your band playing percussions. I came here with another band that was helping you out. Some guys from Lionel y La Formula. I came with them, and I started playing percussions. And after a couple of months, pues pasé a tocar bass. That was the start of 98.
Wow.
I stayed here with you playing. I started playing bass.
And vocals.
And I did vocals a couple of months later because Ramiro Mojeda was the accordion player and he was doing vocals.
Compadre Ramiro Mojeda, El Foro, Fort Worth, Texas.
Saludos a mi compadre Ramiro.
Es que, compadre. So then you started doing vocals after that.
So after Ramiro, I started doing the vocals. Ever since I started doing the recordings on bass and vocals and pues.
¿Oíste, compadre Juan Barrientos? Mi compadre aprendió todo el jale aquí. No, compadre, your beginnings really were playing in that Tri-City area, ¿verdad?
Yes, sir. I started playing with my brothers, with my family. I started as a drummer, playing in Idaho and Oregon, Caldwell, Nampa, Idaho, Ontario, Oregon. I started playing with my brothers for a long while. We had our own band, the Grupo Zamago, and some other names that we changed it to, so playing cumbias and stuff like that. So after that, I started playing with another local band from over there, the Norteño Music. That's when I started playing bass. That's when I did the change to a bass player after being a drummer for a while. I switched to bass and I started playing with Los Rebeldes de Durango, música norteña. And so back in 94, I moved back to Texas because I was living over there for a while in Idaho, Oregon. So after that, I came back to Texas and I kept on going as a bass player. I started playing with local bands around here and I kept on bass. So when I joined Lionel's Formula, actually I started playing bass with them, and then they switched me to keyboards. So I started messing around with the keyboards for a little while.
You play keyboards. Why didn't you tell me that?
I started playing keyboards for a while, and then that's when we came, all the band, we came with you for a while. And they went back to their stuff, and I stayed with you here in the band.
There you go, compadre. Wow. A lot of years. Let me ask you, compadre, do you remember?
Thank you, compadre, for that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and all these years. And
No, pues you're the few, the proud. Pues Johnny Davila is a Marine, but you're the few. He really is. Hoorah, hoorah. And but you're the few and the proud that have stuck it out with us, and we truly appreciate it, compadre. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the first song you ever recorded on?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do. And it was ¿Qué va a ser de ti?
¿Qué va a ser de ti?
That was my first song.
La de Jesse Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. And,
¿Qué va a ser de ti?
and actually, I recorded that song, and it was like a tryout. You were trying me out for the bass. You called me to record that song on bass, and after that, that's when you offered me the job.
Pues, compadre, you passed. You passed.
I recorded the song, and I stayed as a bass player.
¿Qué va a ser de ti? ¿Qué va a ser de ti?
¿Qué va a ser de
Johnny,
ti?
let's play ¿Qué va a ser de ti? On our Gary Hobbs throwback segment. We'll be right back.
No me diste tu cariño y me tratas como un niño. ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Tú pensaste que al besarme haré todo por amarte. ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Esos besitos y caricias con tan linda sonrisita. ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Me dijiste que me amabas y tan solo me engañabas. ¿Qué va a ser de ti? ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Cuando busques un cariño, ¿qué va a ser de ti? Cuando ya no esté contigo, cuando busques de un amigo, que desees estar conmigo, ¿qué va a ser de ti? ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Cuando busques un cariño, ¿qué va a ser de ti? Al saber que me has perdido, cuando busques de algo limpio, que desees estar conmigo, ¿qué va a ser de ti? Esos besitos y caricias con tan linda sonrisita. ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Me dijiste que me amabas y tan solo me engañabas. ¿Qué va a ser de ti? ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Cuando busques de un cariño, ¿qué va a ser de ti? Cuando ya no esté contigo, cuando busques de un amigo, que desees estar conmigo, ¿qué va a ser de ti? ¿Qué va a ser de ti? Cuando busques un cariño, ¿qué va a ser de ti? Al saber que me has perdido, cuando busques de algo limpio, que desees estar conmigo, ¿qué va a ser de ti?
¿Qué va a ser de ti? Song written by Jesse Rodriguez, Homeboy Go Pass, and compadre, I remember doing the video, San Antonio, a bunch of motorcycles, and I actually rode a Harley Davidson and did the video, but I don't remember recording it in the studio. So, but that was your first song, ¿Qué va a ser de ti? on
Yes,
the
sir.
bass.
That was the first one. My first song on bass.
Wow. Pues if you recorded first song ¿Qué va a ser de ti? When was the first time you started recording vocals? Now, I want to say something without offending a lot of people that have worked here. Pero I don't think there's been anybody, compadre, that harmonizes vocals y se le pega mucho exactly what I need to do and what I do or whatever that's worth. Pero I don't think there's anybody, compadre, singing like what you have done since you've been here. And again, I don't want to criticize anybody else because I'm grateful that a lot of other not just bass players but singers, people like that have done the backup vocals. Now, when you took up the backup vocals, who was doing vocals before you?
Ramiro Mojeda.
Mi compadre Ramiro Mojeda.
Compadre
He's
Ramiro.
Very talented out of Fort Worth, El Foro. Fort Worth, Texas. Compadre Ramiro Mojeda, songwriter, accordion player, bajo sexto player, and
Yeah, a little bit of
leads.
everything.
He's a little bit of everything, but he's a talent and a half. Shout out Ramiro Mojeda. But so Ramiro leaves the band, or he left the band, or he got kicked out. But he leaves the band, and then you take over the vocals, the backup vocals.
Yes, sir, I did.
And a lot of people know and seen you, compadre, that you, in many occasions, because you sing solo, you sing lead parts, and you have songs that you always sing, and especially cuando andaba yo un poquito enfermo or off key, or but you're a lead vocalist as well, compadre. And well, let me ask you something. Do you remember the first song that you recorded?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes.
Wow.
It was on that Mírame a mí CD.
Mírame a mí.
Yeah, it
Sony
was,
Records, our first one with Sony.
Yeah, it was Tu Adios
Tu Adios by Ernie Cervera.
by Ernie Cervera. That was a...
Well, it's our Gary Hobbs throwback segment. Johnny, let's dial up Tu Adios. This is Tu Adios. Mi compadre Jaime Zamago singing with me. There you go.
Let's do it.
Para vivir, que mis recuerdos de ti solo me hacen sufrir. Si no estoy contigo, dame una ilusión para soñar. Que se me antojan tus besos, no puedo comprender por qué lo hiciste y qué tengo que hacer para que tú aceptes mi amor. ¿Cómo puedo detenerte si no te tengo aquí? ¿Cómo puedo acariciarte y entregarme a ti? Cada día acostumbrado de oír el timbre de tu voz, cada día cautivado por el silencio de tu adiós. Para vivir, que mis recuerdos de ti solo me hacen sufrir. Si no estoy contigo, dame una ilusión para soñar. Que se me antojan tus besos, no puedo comprender por qué lo hiciste y qué tengo que hacer para que tú aceptes mi amor. ¿Cómo puedo detenerte si no te tengo aquí? ¿Cómo puedo acariciarte y entregarme a ti? Cada día acostumbrado de oír el timbre de tu voz, cada día cautivado por el silencio de tu adiós. De tu adiós.
That's Tu Adios. Wow. On our Gary Hobbs throwback segment with our guest, mi compadre Jaime Zamago in the house. First song that you ever sang on a CD, no, compadre? With us.
Yes, sir. That was back in 98.
Wow. Te digo que sabe, mi compadre, las fechas. And that's why I just started saying 19 threw it away, because ya no me acordaba ni qué año, pero mi compadre reminds me. And man, so ¿qué va a ser de ti? And Tu Adios, you are recording. And to me, compadre, that's way, way back there. It's funny que gente will say, people say, no, Gary, play the old school. And I look at them, and in my mind, I'm thinking like, a que no le cuentas, ¿no? And hoy te confieso, tu foto en la pared, se acabó. That's the old school to me. But that was the 80s. Now, I started in 83, May 19th. This coming May 19th is my 40th anniversary in Tejano music. But I hear, thank you. But I hear old school, and I think that, pero la gente, they think their old school is when they start hearing, pues, que las miradas en Maldito Amor, and te vas a acordar, and that's the old school to them. Huh? But you were here.
The 90s? That's the 90s?
Well, it's the late 90s. Yeah, that's the 90s.
Early 90s.
But you were here like towards the middle, más o menos 95,
97.
97. Towards the end of the 90s, yeah, you were here. And to me, back then is it's way ago now. Ernie Cervera wrote that Tu Adios. Big shout out to Ernie. Ernie plays drums and keyboards, and he's a songwriter, and thank God he doesn't sing. I'd be without a job or something. But big shout out to Ernie, and he's in San Antonio now, right?
Yes, sir.
But, and he just wrote a song from the new CD, ¿verdad? Dime Cuando Sea. We recorded that, and I like that song a lot. But compadre, why don't you send a shout out to your family, maybe your brothers? Man, I know I met several of your brothers, and they've always been there for us, and we're not staying at their house and taking showers, or it's Genaro going to pick up, who was it, Josh? Or
Josh.
And man, I was supposed to help him with gas. I never sent him. Sorry, Genaro. But Genaro saved the day. Josh se quedó tirado. Man, and Genaro went, and I think he made a round trip like 100 miles, compadre.
Yeah.
And to get us out. But send a shout out to all your brothers, compadre.
Saludos a toda mi familia, a todos. Como te digo, we are all Gary Hobbs music fans.
Thank you, compadre.
And I want to send a shout out to all my family, everybody that's listening to me, and here's hanging with Gary. Big shout out to all my family. I love them all. Thanks everybody for supporting me on my career throughout the years. Everybody's been there for me, helping me on and off whenever they can, whatever way they can.
People are always helping músicos, compadre. We need the help, músicos.
They never have money.
Let me tell everybody in less than a minute. This was in the 90s, and I was up like I always am at 4:35 in the morning. Back then, we still had via cable, but I used to see some old shows, and one of them was Zorro, the original Zorro, right? Zorro. And in this episode, the Zorro, in this episode, there's a fake Zorro, a fake Zorro stealing money from people, right? And so then they're having this big meeting, and the fake Zorro walks in, and it's all the rich people, And so he kind of holds everybody holds them up, and with other people, and this Zorro starts telling everybody to put their money and the watches and into a bag or something, ¿verdad? And there's some mariachis there. There was a mariachi. They were playing mariachi. And so they were playing and said, everybody put your money in the bag, the watches. And then voltea one of his helpers, thief, y le dice, what about the musicians? And And then El Fake Zorro says, the musicians, not the musicians, they never have money. And that stayed with me. When I heard that, compadre, I've told you the story and everybody, and it became a joke with us. The musicians, not the musicians, they never have money. and I started to laugh, compadre, and then I started to feel really offended, like, because people think that músicos, they don't make money. Now that we spend more than we should, well, I don't know, but we like our expensive toys, ¿verdad, compadre? But,
Yes, sir.
Big shout out to La Familia Zamago, and thank you for all the support. And once again, you're listening to Hanging with Gary. We are in Eagle Pass, Texas. Johnny Davila, mi compadre Jaime Zamago, and yours truly, Gary Hobbs. We'll be right back. And we're back. Johnny D, Jay-Z, the OG, the old Gary. They hear OG and I don't know what that stands for. It's like something great or something, but the OG means the older Gary. So welcome to Hanging with Gary. We are in Eagle Pass, Texas, ladies and gentlemen. On this segment, Johnny, mi compadre, Jay-Z, we want to bring to our audience new music. Of course, we have a new CD out on Freddie Records. The name of the CD is Sin Fin, without N, Sin Fin. And we're blessed that Quedaría, our first single's been number one on several radio stations and on Lopez Broadcasting, stuff like that. 3 weeks in a row, number one, and we owe that to God, and we owe that to all our Tejano music family and friends. Quedaría. But from this, big shout out to our producer, Hector Gutierrez, Robstown, Texas. Freddie Records. Eli, too, he's on the staff, compadre.
Yes, sir.
Eli Molina, our sound engineer, recording engineer, and everybody else there, Mariano.
Mariano.
Yes, everybody. Big shout out to Ram, too. But from the new CD, Sin Fin, it's out on all digital platforms, of course. But I hear that hopefully by next week, compadre, the actual CD, the physical CD, will be in our hands. And I know people on the road have been asking for it, and we told them soon, and hopefully soon enough. Word is that next week we have Sin Fin, physical CD in our hands, con el favor de Dios. But we want to bring new music from that CD, something that I wrote, Te Jure, and it's just FYI here, but we do a little survey when we finish recording and mixing, and I go to all the band members and maybe 2 or 3 trusted friends, the inner circle, and we let them hear the stuff, and we ask them what. I always ask for the rancheras, I'm hoping that the cumbias are good enough and stuff like that, but I ask them what they like the most, and it was surprising that Te Jure, not only you, compadre Jaime, and Homero, our drummer, and several.
I like it too.
Hector Gutierrez, Johnny D, and Te Jure is, of course, a Tejano ranchera. It is kind of Gary Hobbs, not only music but lyric, because yes, I wrote it, but it was something that we wanted to achieve, kind of retro, kind of sounds old but kind of new, and we'll let you all be the judge of it. But this is new music, Freddie Records from the Sin Fin CD. This is Te Jure.
hasta el final. Porque tú y yo, amándonos los dos, juntos para siempre tú y yo. Siempre iba a estar a tu lado, contigo en lo bueno y lo malo, no importe la tormenta ni el dolor. Te juré que nuestros años no serían en vano, juntos agarrados de la mano, amarnos día a día hasta el final. Siempre tú y yo, porque tú y yo, amándonos los dos, juntos para siempre tú y yo, juntos para siempre tú y yo.
That's Te Jure from the Scene Fiend CD on Freddie Records. Yours truly, Gary Hobbs, the usual suspects. We hope you enjoy that. Tejano Ranchera, Tejano music. We're in the house. You're listening to Hanging with Gary. We'll be right back. Before we leave, Johnny D, Jay-Z,
It's that time again.
the OG. You're listening to Hanging with Gary. Once again, you're listening on Spotify or Amazon Music or YouTube, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on GaryHobbs.com. Just a few, 2-3 announcements. We are having registration already for our fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, our fifth Gary Hobbs Family and Friends Cruise on Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. And this time, Johnny D and Jay-Z, it is on a new ship. Beautiful, beautiful ship. Harmony of the Seas. Please join us on GaryHobbsCruise.com for information and registration. GaryHobbsCruise.com. Performing with us on this cruise, David Lee Garza, Los Musicales, and we're going to be celebrating David Lee's birthday. Now, it is a Valentine's cruise because it's from February 11th through February 18th. It is going to Roatán, Honduras, Costa Maya, Mexico, and Cozumel, Mexico, 8 days, and a lot of activities, 2-3 dances, meet and greets, 70s, 80s party, blah, blah, blah. But all the details are on GaryHobbsCruise.com. Also joining us, Miss Stephanie Montiel, Gabriel Zavala with special performances, also Cesar Omar, special performances, and of course one of our favorites, legendary Mr. David Mares is on board. He's a Gary Hobbs Cruise. He's one of our favorites, and we wanted Joe Posada, and we couldn't get him this year, but we're gonna try already really hard to get him for the following year because it's just extraordinary when those two guys get together, and they are so good, compadre. So good.
Wow.
En sacándose la garra. I mean, I love their music, but when they get together, those two guys, Jesters Forever, and man, do they know how to rib each other? Gotcha. It reminds me of our first band and stuff like that. But once again, visit us at GaryHobbsCruise.com. Debe ligarse a los musicales Stephanie Montiel, David Mares, special appearances by Gabriel Zavala, also by Cesar Omar, and Johnny D himself, compadre, is going to be with us. Johnny D.
Johnny D.
Now, of course, the usual suspects, we're on board, and yours truly, Gary Hobbs. Visit us at GaryHobbsCruise.com. Now, for those of you that follow us on the road, let me tell you that the month of April is already coming up. We have shows, of course, in Austin, Texas, coming up in April. Houston, Texas, Tumbleweeds. We are going to be at the Strawberry Fest. That's Friday, April 14th. We are in Dallas on April 15th. No, that show is sold out. Gracias a Dios. We are at Fiesta, San Antonio. Y'all make a note of this. Fiesta's on Sunday night on April 23rd, and we have special surprises that night. Yes, special surprises that night. And I know that April 28th is Tejano Explosion, San Antonio, Texas. I know that we are with, I think, Michael Salgado.
Michael Salgado, yes.
But those are coming up. Once again, you're listening to Hanging with Gary. You can visit us at GaryHobbs.com. We are on Facebook, Gary Hobbs Official. We are on Twitter, Gary Hobbs Official. We're on Instagram, Gary Hobbs Official, right? But once again, Hanging with Gary. We're in Eagle Pass, Texas. Anything before we leave, Johnny D? Hey, are you at Azul this week?
I'm still at Azul this week.
There you go. Johnny D shows on Thursday, right?
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday this week at the Kikapulak Eagle Casino at Azul Restaurant inside. Compadre, anything you want to say? Just
thank you, compadre. Thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure being here with y'all. Hanging with Gary.
Podcast, yeah.
It's so much fun. I can do it every week.
Yes, compadre. I think you're going to have to come on board because little D has been no D. No D. But we sure want to thank all our Tejano music family and friends that listen to Hanging with Gary. Stay safe. Be blessed. Take care because this Texas weather is so bipolar lately. But we'll see you on the road very, very soon. Con el favor de Dios. Till next week. God bless. Welcome to Hanging with Gary.